What's up? Welcome back. Thanks for being here. So this last weekend was awesome. Had some really exciting things happen. I mean, not too out of the ordinary, I hope, but I had some awesome traction on React Table. So really quickly, I wanted to show you guys that. React Table is just booming right now. People really took a liking to this tweet that I put out, and maybe you didn't know yet, but React Table is now version 7 is now in beta. So this was a lot of attention that I did not expect, and it was really cool to see React Table trending on GitHub, and it's still on the top of Best of JS, and yeah, it's been really cool. So I think it's still trending on GitHub, actually. Yeah, a couple down. Not too shabby. So thank you. If you support React Table, thank you very much. You make my dreams come true. Also, if you guys got a couple more patrons, so thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. The more patrons I get, the more I want to maintain all of this free stuff for people. So React Table training videos, I'm working on some React charts stuff, and even working on React Form, which is something that I'm going to be talking about today. One of the reasons that I'm streaming today is because I need to build what is called an immutable deep set function. So I will set up a little scenario for you guys and show you why this is important. So when you're in React, really anywhere in JavaScript, immutable data and immutable functions are fantastic. And all that means is that we're not taking objects like this, like foo, and mutating them like this, something else, right? Instead of mutating the foo object, we would say foo equals, and we would make a new copy of foo with a new value of bar. And this is the difference. This is immutable. This is immutable. And in the world of React, immutable operations are extremely important and very valuable because React does a lot of its natural and native change detection using immutable equality. So it will take an old object and it will compare it to the new object using referential equality. And that way it can tell, if the old object doesn't equal the new object, then something's changed, right? And it will proceed to do whatever it needs to do. Hooks work this way. So if you have a dependency, like in React use memo, right? If we have some dependencies here, and one of them is foo, if we were to mutate foo, right, then this dependency right here would never change because it's the same object, and so this memo would never fire again. So there's a lot that you can learn about immutability in React, but one thing that I ran into is I'm in a situation where I need to be able to basically call a set function on object, give it like this, path, basically. The easiest way to do that would be like, foo bar baz, or like foo bar 1 baz, and then give it a value of hello world. And what I would want that to do is give me a completely new object, right? So it would take in this object, and it would go and it would immutably set this nested nested property of this object with this value. And instead of mutating it and giving it back to me, it would create an immutable new version of that. This is pretty common with libraries like ImmerJS. Immer is fantastic. I don't know if you've ever used Immer, but let me show you really quick what Immer is all about. Immer will take an object, like this base state right here is just an object. You pass base state to Immer, and then it gives you this draft state object in a function. And you can actually mutate that function, like change it using like really crazy, what you would think were dangerous mutable operations. And under the hood, it will translate those to immutable operations. It's very cool. Honestly, I have been using this for this specific project I'm working on, but as of right now, I want to remove my dependency on Immer because I'm really only using it for a couple of deep set functions. So I want to get rid of this Immer dependency and do it on my own. And I'm going to do that today. Hopefully I can do that with you guys. So let's set up. In fact, I'm going to take that deep state object that I just saw on Immer actually and use it. So let's take that. And we'll just set up a new state here. Const state, set state, use state. We're just going to start it off with this object right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to set up an effect. And we're going to say anytime that state changes, we're going to log it. State. And then we're going to make a button here that will, let's see, on click, we're going to have this button do stuff. Const do stuff equals a new function that's going to basically say const new state. It's going to take in the old state, give us a new state. It's going to set state. In fact, let's do this correctly and use the existing state in here. Set by old. We're going to set the first item the second item we're going to set, and then we're going to set done. In fact, let's just do this. This is the first item done to true. Now we have to create this set by function. So Babel types is a dependency. I don't need Babel types. Oh, it automatically brought that in. So, and then we're just going to return this new state. Now we need to build our set by function. So let's do that. Function set by. It's going to take in an object. It's going to take in a path and a value. And we need to take this path, let's see. We need to take this path and we need to split it up based on some things. We want to get an array, really, because what we're going to do is probably reduce this. So we're going to take path, we're going to, first we're going to replace any brackets with periods. So we're going to replace, let's see, any bracket, any of those. So we'll say any of these, we're going to replace, what does it say? Unnecessary escape character. Oh, I guess that is unnecessary. It's kind of weird to read that though. Usually you have to escape that, but I guess not. So we're going to replace those with periods, and then we're going to split. Or wait, no, we don't want to replace both of those with periods. Well, actually, we do. And then after that, we want to replace any occurrences of multiple periods with a single period. So we'll do this, and we'll say 2 or more instances of a period, put that, and then we'll split on the period, console log path. Okay, let's bring up our console, do stuff. Okay. Set by object path. All right, let's reload this really quick. Why is it logging right out of the gate? That is weird. Return path. On click, do stuff. Well, I'm not doing stuff right now. Oh, that's from our state right here. That's not technically from this right here. So we'll add a little label to that. New state. So I know what's going on there. All right. So when we click this button that needs to have something in it so I can actually click it. Let's get rid of that. We'll say go. When I click this button, it's going to, let's see, console log the path. And I just log that new state done. Set by object. Path should be a string. Oh, gotta do path equals path. Okay, we'll click go. All right, what's going on here? So we have some empty string and then 1 and then done. I think what we want to do is not do all the replacement right here, actually. We just want to, we don't really want to use any beginning brackets, but we do want to use the ending brackets. So we're going to replace the beginning brackets with nothing, ending brackets with a period, and that should give us, there we go, this path right here. So, I mean, honestly, what we could do is we could even just say 1.done, and it would be the exact same thing, right? But some people like to use this array syntax. It's kind of what people expect. So, what we'll do now is, now that we have this path, we're going to path reduce. So we're going to have what, it's like the memo part of the path, right? And then we're going, so I like to call it the cursor. It's where we are right now, what we returned the last time. And then we're going to have the current key, or we'll just call it the key, whatever the key is. We're going to start with the initial object that was sent in. So, and reduce is kind of cool because it's kind of like it's kind of a way to recurse, if you will. Well, it's like a way of recursing, but not real recursion. So if we pass in object and we have this cursor now, cursor is now object, and the key is this first number is a 1, right? So what we can do is we can say we need to like detect what kind of object we're working with here. So first let's detect arrays. So if array is array cursor, then let's see, well, yeah. We're gonna have to detect whether we're on the last path as well. So let's see. If the cursor is an array, then let's see, does reduce give you, like say we do this, 1, 2, 3, reduce, memo, current, all, does it give you all? console log all. One and two. It doesn't give you all. So if we start with a 1, 2, and 3, no, it doesn't give you all of them. So I guess we need path. So how are we going to do this? So we'll just say like index equals 0. I guess that's kind of a naive way to do it, but we'll say index plus plus const current index equals path, or let's see, say const is last, and that will equal index equals path dot length. We'll increment index right here, so that way we know if we're working with the last element, if that makes sense. So if it is the last element, well, I guess if it's the last element, we don't need to know. See, recursion is really difficult, but we'll get it. So let's see. If the cursor is an array, then we're going to want to return a new array. And we're going to want to spread the old array into that array. And then we're going to want to set the key. Let's see, but we actually will need to recurse backwards, wouldn't we? We need to set the key. Guys, I think we can't do this in a reduce function. I think we actually have to use recursion here. I think that's what we have to do. Like, I think what we need to do is we have to use like a do set, right? And it's going to take the object and the path. I don't think it's going to do any of the reduction stuff, actually. What it's going to do is it's going to say const cursor so it's going to be like let cursor equals object. So you set the cursor at the top of the object. And then you say, okay, if the object const current path equals path dot, let's see, we want to shift off of the path, basically, right? 1, 2, 3, shift, should give us 1. It kind of pulls it off of path. That way, each time that we are going through do set, it will pull one off the front of the path, and that way we'll know when we're to the end. So we'll say if current path if not current path length, we know we're at the end. So this is the end. Sweet. And then so we get the current path. If there is a path, we pop it off, or we shift it off. We get the current path, and we say, okay, if the object is an array, I have that in my clip. Oh, I thought I had it in my clipboard. If array is array object, then we are going to return the object while the cursor becomes, let's see, new object equals let's see, const new object. Ooh, this is tough because we don't want to mutate the old object in any way. We want to return the new object. So we're going to do set. Just going to return straight out of do set. We're going to return do set with the cursor. Then cursor could just be the object in the path. Yeah, we'll do that. No object, or no, there's no cursor. The cursor is coming in. We'll just call it the parent. Current path equals path.shift. Let's get rid of this for now. All right, so if the current path is, let's see, if array is an object, that means the current path, this technically is like the key. Then we're going to, let's see, array is array object, then the parent, or we're just going to be returning let's see, we're going to be returning the object. No, we're going to be returning the parent, but we're going to have to slice it up because if you've ever done immutable sets or like immutable manipulation of arrays, then you have to do this, and this is the annoying part. But we're just going to do it once so we don't have to do it a bunch of times. So this is going to be the key minus, I think it's key minus 1 right here, and then this is parent slice key plus 1, I think. And then right here we would have the key, or no, we wouldn't want the key if it's an array. We would just want the old value. So that would be the parent key. Let's see, parent key. But we would want to do the immutable, we want to do set on this as well, because that's the value that we're doing. So do set there, path. So I think if we're at the end of the line, then really we just return the parent is what we do. So we don't need path to be sent down through all of that. And then let's see, so if it's an array, then we slice up the array and we call our do set again with the new parent, right? And if it's the end of the line, then we're just going to return, well, really what it is we're going to return the value is what it's going to be, the new value. What if value could be another immutable set state? That would be really interesting. That would be extremely interesting. Like you could do type of value equals function, and if it is that way, then you could actually take, like you could say value parent, and then otherwise just return the value. So it's almost like value is the updater. Okay, I'm going to leave that in there. We're going to see how it goes. That'd be really cool because then you could be sure that you're getting the old value to like update it, kind of like the setState pattern that you see with React. I don't know, the functional setState pattern. Okay, so there's the array. If I don't know, as long as like. Now we have to detect objects, but detecting objects is so weird. Like basically you want to avoid isNaN or, I don't know, I guess we're just going to assume like if type of parent equals object, like that seems pretty blanket statement. It's kind of scary. But if it equals an object, then we're going to return, but now we don't have to do all that weird slicing magic. We can just return the old parent But then on this, we just pass the key, the new key, or the existing key that they want to keep going into. And then we do set parent key. And we don't need to pass that path there, right there. Parent key. Okay. I think that works. And if it's not an array and it's not an object and there's still a path left, throw new error. Say this object cannot be deep set. Well, that's interesting, because we would. What if we had something like this, where what if useState? What if it started as an array, just a blank array, and we wanted to do something like this, right? That gets kind of interesting, because then we would need to know that this needs to be an array and that this needs to be an object, and we would actually have to construct that going down the line. Woo. That gets intense. I'm going to save this for later, but that is like a use case, a very important use case. So we start with a blank array. We say, hey, I want to set, the first element in this array, and then done. Like, what would that even look like? After that, you would want this array to be like undefined, basically. And then, the array would actually have a key of like 1. And then it would have like this blank object, and then it would be like done true. It needs to be possible though, So let's do that. How do we do that? I think what we want to do is, you know what? I'm going to look up something really quick. There is .com. I used something like this a while back that would take the string form of a path and it would turn it into like actual numbers or not, using parse int, if it was like in an array format. I'm going to see if I can find it really quick. Yeah, I think this is it. So before we split this path right here, this is kind of cool. We use a regex to find numbers that are inside of brackets. And then once we have found a number that's inside of a bracket, we replace it with this kind of prefix here, this dot, int underscore, something that nobody's ever going to use in a string, basically. And then we go about replacing all of the brackets still and replacing all of the periods, right? And then at the very end, after we've split it, we use this. And we split it, right? And say we started with a string that was like this. It was like foo 3 bar 5. Okay. Say we started with that. We would then have an array with foo, and then it would be int 3 bar, and then I would have this int prefix again, 5. And then we map over that and we say, hey, if index of int, if index of this int prefix equals 0, then we're going to try and parse the integer out of that string and then return it. And so it would end up actually being 3 and 5 in this path right here. Super cool, because then we can detect if it's a number or not, right? So really, instead of leading off of what the item already is, we're going to lead off of the actual key. So we'll say if type of key equals string, well then we must be dealing with an object, right? So we can move into this. And then we can say if type of parent does not equal object, I mean really it doesn't matter. If type of parent does not equal object, well we can't, it means we'd be converting something else into an object. And so really we would just need to return an object like without the parent, because there's no way that we can spread the parent in there. Otherwise we can actually return it with the parent in there. We just have to return a new object with the key. Like that feels really weird, but I think that's the way that you have to do it. So same thing with an array. So if we say if type of key equals number, then we must be dealing with an array. And we say, you know, if this is not an array, if the parent is not an array, then all we can really do is just return an array with like just this blank array being sliced, I guess. And then we would do set with the parent slash key. And see, we wouldn't have a value at that point. Maybe we would, but then I don't know. It kind of gets confusing. Otherwise, we would be able to use the parent in there, I think. So let's run through this. Let's say we have a do set, and the first object is a string with foo. The next one is for, and then we have bar. What would happen if we did that? So do set would come in. It would say get the first. Okay, so this is not the first one. So get the key. Path shift off foo right here. So we would have foo. And it'd say type of key equals string, so we must be dealing with an object. So we say if type of parent does not equal object, which, you know, it wouldn't matter if object was like an object or an array or a number or whatever. If it doesn't equal an object, but we want to set it as an object, then we just have to return this new object with key do set. Yeah. Otherwise, if it was, we could spread the parent. So then moving on after that, so we have, let's see, we would have this, like let's say worst case scenario, we have this random object with a new key in there, and we're doing do set with parent key. So we get a 4, right? Comes through. This is now the new, let's see, parent key. This is where it's losing me. So if it wasn't anything, I think this needs to be undefined, basically, because there is no parent key. Like if we have a key and the parent's not an object, we can't get anything out of there, so it has to be undefined. And same thing with an array. If the parent is not an array, and we have an index, we can't get the index of nothing. So we just have to do set with nothing, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the case. And instead of doing all this weird slice magic stuff here, I think we can actually just return, I think you can do new array and you can say key equals do set, and then it would be like length equals key. I think you can do that. Like make a new array from this object. We say key equals do set, set the length to key minus 1, actually. I think is how we do it. We will test that out. Otherwise, if we are working with, I don't like this like negative, like dealing with negatives here, and that feels weird. So we're going to invert that. So we're going to say if it is an array, we're going to do the thing. Otherwise, okay, that feels better. So if it's an array, we're actually going to use it. If it's not, we're just going to create a new one. And if we have a path, let's see, throw new error, if type of key equals string, type of key equals number, throw new error. Uh-oh. Like, I don't know what would happen right here because the key either has to be a string or a number. And we would go through and either build it or make it if we can. So, yeah, I think that should work just fine. And then like do set. So we have the parent, and if there's no more paths left, then we do our little set state thing right here. So it's actually interesting. We could do something like this. Like if we were working with this object, in fact, let's just test this out. So if we hit go, it says new state. There's this object. The key is blank, but the array 0. Blank 0. -1. No, this doesn't feel right. So object array. No, don't like it. I'm going to look up really quick. Let's see. JavaScript, create new array from object. I know there's a syntax to do this. Let's see. There's some way to do it with length. Array from length 5. You know, I just saw Sean Wang Swix do this the other day. I can't remember how he did it. It was like in some little tweet. I'm just going to go back to what I had and just fake it. So I think new array length key -1 would do it. But I'm just going to do this. Key equals do set unexpected token. What do you mean it's an unexpected token? Oh. Do set. But I think what that would mean is we need to have some new array here, which is the key length -1. Let me see if that, I think we need to map that to undefined. Let's just try that out actually really quick. So I'm going to open up the real console here for a second. Key is not defined. Of course it's not. So, oh my goodness. That might be hard for you guys to see. Let me crank it up so you guys can see that. So let's just say the key is 4. We're trying to set like foo or something like that. Okay. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Array 4 -1. 4 -1, 3. Well, we would actually want 4. It'd have to be -2. So if we're setting, so like if the key is 4, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. Oh, no. Wouldn't want that. If the key we're setting is 4, we want it to be 5. So we wouldn't want it to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be the fifth element. Okay, I feel like that actually works pretty well. So new array would be the key. And do we have to map it with undefined? That is another question I have. Or does it just come as undefined if we get rid of the map? Yeah, okay. So we don't need to map it with undefined. So we just say new array key because it's a number, remember. Then we do set with the thingamajig. And let's hit go. We're still getting an object. I'm curious what console log path is. Path is nothing. Why is path nothing? So we're doing this. Let's just not do this right here. And let's just log path. int1 done. All right. Then we're replacing. Let's see what happens after our little multi-replacement there. So, well, that's weird. And if we split on that, what does it look like? What? Let's get rid of this little weird, replace any extra. Map. Let's just get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Are we splitting? Oh, let's not do the do set because that's actually mutating our path. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So if we do this, where is this first item in the array coming from? That's what I want to know. So let's see. Oh, replacing D with a, there's a period right there. I don't think we want to do that. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Anything in between brackets like that, that could be a number we want to do. And then we got to map back over it now. Bring the map back in. Console log then. Okay, now we get one and done. One and done, baby. Okay. So we got our path. Now we're going to come back down and actually run our do set. So new state. So we started off with, in fact, let's just make sure we're doing the right thing here. We're just going to start off with nothing. So, and I'm going to actually pre-code JSON stringify state null 2. Okay. Whoa, styles, people. Got to get those text aligned center out of there. Okay, so we're dealing with undefined basically when we start, right? In fact, we could just start with a number just to make sure. So state right now is a number, and when we hit this button, it's going to set the second item in the array that technically is a number right now, and then the property of done to true of that item. Boom, it works. Let's set it to an array. Let's make sure that it works there. If we set this to an object with like foo bar in it, does it still work? Yes, it does. Now let's try our bar, our value that should, whoa, gotta uncomment this stuff. That is actually an array. Okay, so we start with this, hit go. Uh-oh, something happened. So, oh, I know what it is. So let's see. It should be keeping the learn TypeScript and done true right here, but it's not. And that's because of this right here. We're slicing to the key -1. I always screw that up. It's something that I always have to like go back and learn, right? And just to make sure that we're doing the slice on the other end right, we're going to add another one, which is like learn React false. Well, hold on. we want to learn React. So let's keep that true. All right, let's get rid of that really quick. Let's move this down. So it should keep, yeah, it should keep our learn React in there as well. Okay, now we're going to set up a different log. We're going to do state.0. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to detect if this first value is actually changing or not. So right there it changed because it went from undefined to something, right? But once we hit this go, it's going to change this value right here. But this value, this object right here should remain unchanged. So you see, we were able to change this value, but we didn't get a log, and that's because it didn't change. But if we do state1, you'll see when I hit go, it changed. New state, oh, we're logging the wrong one right there. Yeah, so when it comes in, it says, hey, there's a new value, it's done as false. When we hit go, hey, it changed, done is now true. We're setting that to a string true. So hit go, done is true. Okay. So what this means is we can use this setBy function now to immutably affect an object using a path, a string path. And it's a smart string path too. We can use arrays and numbers in it, and it's going to construct it out of nothing if it is that. This is the other cool thing that we built in. So if we wanted, we could use old right here, and we could say not old, because we built in this little updater logic right here that says if the updater is a function, pass in the old value. So the very first time that we do it, if we say type of old equals undefined, set it to true. Otherwise, just invert the old. So if we started off with nothing in this array, right? Let's get rid of this effect for now. If we started off with nothing, it's going to set it to true. Oh, hold on. We just found another bug, I think. So done true. And I think that's because of the undefined. We're going to actually log this out. So every time the state changes, we're just going to log out state on every single render. So right now it's nothing. We hit go. We have this object, but see, it's not putting in this undefined, and I think it's because we actually do have to map it. If we map this to undefined. Let's restart. No, it's still doing 0. That's very strange. So we should be using a 1 here. Key is 1. So I just want to log this out really quick. Console log, new array. Oh, it's not logging it out because right here, let's see, setting 1. We're setting 1 on an array that doesn't have anything in it. So that's actually this logical tree right here. Parent slice 0 key. Interesting. So I don't really care about the ones after. Like, we don't need to fill an array after. It doesn't make sense. You can't do that. But this one kind of does make sense. If you have an explicit index, right, Like if you have an explicit index that you're setting, I think you'd want the array to be that length. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to call this a prefix, right? And either we're going to, if the prefix.length, if the prefix has a length, we're going to use prefix. Otherwise, we're going to do our little trick here. Again, I think we learned that we don't need the undefined. That was just a different problem. Or we're just going to use new array key. So, so it did null. That is weird. Why would it do null? Oh, it's actually undefined, but because we're stringifying it, it's going to null. That is awesome. Huh. I'm not sure what the right functionality is to have there is. So maybe this is like an option that says like allow undefined, but I think that this has to be the way that it is. So coming back in here, let's bring these objects back. Sweet. So if we start with nothing, it defaults to true because the old version was undefined. We could detect that, the old value, and we said start at true. Otherwise, we just invert it. So now it just inverts. Pretty sweet. And this is basically an immutable set inside of here as well. Same thing that you'd get with setState. Cool. So that means we can actually do some really interesting things here. We could have kind of a little form, and on submit, we could take the event, or we'll do this, on submit. Const on submit takes the event. We're going to prevent default on the event so the page doesn't reload. And then we're going to perform our setState right here. And we're going to have an input. This button right here is going to be type equals submit. We're going to make two inputs here. We'll just make them both text. Input type, we'll just duplicate it here. We'll say value equals path on change. We'll just do it in line. I don't really care. So we'll say set value, or no, we want to set path. Whoa. Shift was kind of acting funny there. Set path, not set path element, don't autocorrect, to the E target value. I know those don't exist yet, and that's okay. Right here, we're going to say value. This will be set value, E target value. And then we're going to come up here. Let's start with these. But we're also going to have const path, set path. And we're going to use React, use state. We'll just start that off with nothing. And then we'll do the value and the set value. We'll also start that off with nothing. Now, check this out. Now we can type, we can say, you know what, I want to change the first element to do to Tanner Lindsley. Boom. Wait, it said done true. What is this? Oh, that's because our setState function isn't updated. So we're going to set the old one. We're going to do path, and then we're going to say value. Okay, let's try that again. One to do equals Tanner Lindsley. And we say done, true, except it's going to be a string. Oh well. We could say 0 equals nothing, string yo. Or we can say to do equals groceries. Boom. So you can see how this would be very handy. Immutable setState function, and it's really small actually. This, let's see, I don't know how many lines it is, but set by, how many lines is it? 50 lines, not bad. I hate counting code by lines, but sometimes it's fun. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Well, yeah, I want to confirm deleting that. Okay, that's it, guys. You know, I wanted to tell you ultimately the reason that I'm building this is because right now I'm working on a new form library that Nozzle needs. I have enjoyed the other form libraries like Formic and React Final Form, and there's a couple of hook-based ones out there, but none of them really hit the spot for me in how I think forms should behave, and a lot of them are very complex. And other things like they don't handle asynchronous validation very well, or it's not really first class, or there's like a bunch of different ways to do the same thing, and it gets really confusing. So one of the reasons I'm doing this is so that when you're building forms, you can have basically you can say like use field, and you'd be able to say like config, or you'd be able to say like to-dos, the first to-do, you know, name. You'd be able to say use field, and then you have like default value, and you know that gives you back a bunch of cool stuff like, hey, here's the actual value, and here's the method you can set the value. You can also set meta, so you can set like touched and is touched and dirty, and you can do validation, right? And you have to be able to support these kind of nested properties so that you can use other methods like push value or, you know, remove value or whatever, array bound operations. So that's the biggest reason that I wanted to build this function, and you're probably going to see this exact function or something derived from it in the next version of useform, in the next version of React form. And right now it's not up to date. So this is true for the last version, but this is going to be changing here pretty soon. If you come to the GitHub repo, you'll actually see that kind of prepping it for kind of a next little comeback release. So this isn't technically correct, any of this stuff right here, but it's going to be pretty close. I'll be updating the documentation soon, and that's that. If you are interested in a form component from me, I mean, you know it's going to be great to use with hooks. It's going to be really flexible. The user experience is going to be fantastic. I'm going to give it first-class support, and it's, you know, likely it's going to be very powerful, kind of low level. I don't expect a ton of people to be using this form library for, you know, hopefully you can use it for like little basic forms and stuff. But if you want to build your own form component library, basically, I would hope that you would consider this library to do that. So if you're interested in that, make sure you go check out my Patreon. I'm kind of nearing completion on React Table, and React Charts is kind of, I think I'm prioritizing React Form ahead of React Charts for now, unless I can get some more sponsors for React Charts. But React Form already has some people who are interested in it, so I think that's what I'm going to do next. So if you guys are interested in that, go become a patron. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for thanks for listening to me banter while we run through this this little deep setState function that I built. And if you have any comments or questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you around.